The small, dimly lit restaurant smelled faintly of stale bread and cheap soup. In the corner, on a cracked wooden chair, sat a little girl no older than 7. Her clothes were torn, her shoes nearly falling apart, and her small hands trembled as she held the bowl of watery soup in front of her. The steam had long faded, and the soup was little more than warm water with a few floating vegetables. She lifted the spoon to her lips, but her face twisted with pain. Tears welled in her big brown eyes as she whispered under her breath, almost too soft to hear, "I can't eat this anymore." The waitress, tired from her long shift, overheard the little voice but didn't say anything. Customers came and went, most too busy with their own lives to notice. Outside, the night was cold, and the sound of rain against the glass windows filled the silence of the room. At that moment, the door to the restaurant swung open. A tall man in an elegant suit stepped in, shaking off raindrops from his coat. His presence alone seemed to change the air. His shoes clicked against the floor as he walked in confidently, but when his eyes caught the fragile figure of the little girl, his steps slowed. Something in her tears, in the way she clutched the spoon as if it were the only thing she had, struck a chord deep inside him. He walked closer, pulling out the chair beside her. The girl froze, her small shoulders tensed. She thought maybe he would scold her, or worse, tell her to leave. Instead, he leaned down gently and said, "Why are you crying, little one?" The girl sniffled, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. This soup. I can't eat it anymore. It's all I ever have, every day. I'm so hungry but it hurts." Her voice cracked, and the words fell like daggers. The man's chest tightened. He sat down and called the waitress. "Bring the menu," he said firmly. The waitress, confused, handed him the thin laminated sheet. He turned to the girl. "What do you want to eat?" The girl's eyes widened. "Eat? You mean I can choose?" "Yes. Anything you want." Her hands shook as she held the menu. The words were blurry to her, not because she couldn't read but because no one had ever asked her this question. After a long pause, she whispered, "Can I have chicken? And maybe bread? Please?" The man smiled softly, though his heart was breaking. "Chicken it is. And bread. And maybe some dessert, too." For the first time in what felt like forever, the little girl smiled. But that was only the beginning. As the food arrived, steaming hot and filling the air with a rich aroma, the girl devoured it with the innocence of a starving child. Every bite was a luxury, every taste a dream. The man watched quietly, remembering his own past. He had once been a boy like her, abandoned on the streets after his parents died in an accident. He knew the sting of hunger, the humiliation of begging, the pain of being unseen. That pain had shaped him, had driven him to build an empire, had made him a millionaire. But wealth had never erased those memories, they stayed with him like scars. He asked her softly, "Where are your parents?" Her spoon stopped mid-air. Tears returned. "Mama, she died. Papa went away. I don't know where. Stepmother says I'm a burden, so I come here when I can. Sometimes they give me soup. Sometimes, nothing." The man clenched his fists under the table. How many children suffered like this, invisible to the world? But this child, fate had brought her here, right in front of him. From that night, his life and hers changed. At first, the challenge was trust. The little girl, whose name was Layla, didn't believe kindness lasted. She had seen too many promises broken, too many smiles fade when responsibility arrived. When the man, whose name was Adam, offered to take her shopping for clothes, she hesitated. When he suggested school, she shook her head. "They'll laugh at me. I'm not good enough." Adam's heart broke each time she said such words. He knew her scars ran deeper than hunger. She had learned to see herself as worthless. And healing that would take time. Another challenge was society itself. People whispered when they saw the millionaire walking with a poor little girl. Rumors spread, ugly, cruel rumors about his intentions. But Adam never explained himself to the world. His only concern was Layla. He enrolled her in school, hired tutors to help her catch up, and filled her small hands with books instead of empty bowls. But it wasn't easy. Nights came when Layla would cry herself to sleep, missing her mother. Days came when bullies at school mocked her torn past. Adam would sit by her side, holding her hand, reminding her, "Your past doesn't define you. Your heart does. And your heart is stronger than you know." Years passed. Layla blossomed. She grew into a confident young girl, then into a determined young woman. She excelled in her studies, her laughter filling Adam's once empty mansion with warmth. She no longer whispered, "I can't eat this anymore." Instead, she said, "I want to help children like me. I want to make sure no one ever feels that hunger again." Her dream became her mission. With Adam's support, she started a foundation feeding children, building schools, giving hope where there had been none. People who once doubted her now admired her courage. And Adam, who had once been a lonely man surrounded by riches, found his greatest treasure in Layla's smile. She was not his blood, but she was his daughter in every way that mattered. The story that began with a tear-stained whisper in a restaurant ended with hope spreading to thousands. Layla stood one day before a crowd of children, holding Adam's hand, and said, "I was once like you. Hungry. Lost. Invisible. But someone saw me. Someone believed in me. And now, I believe in you." The crowd erupted in applause, but Adam only smiled quietly. He knew his journey of pain had led him here, to this moment. And it all began on the night a little girl cried, "I can't eat this anymore," and a millionaire decided to listen. Closing for video, call to action. And my friends, that's the power of kindness. One act of compassion can change not just one life, but generations. If this story touched your heart, let me know in the comments below, what would you have done if you were in Adam's place? And don't forget, subscribe to Be Kind Always for more stories that inspire, heal, and remind us that love still exists in this world. Because no matter how small, kindness is the one gift that multiplies when shared.